Good morning and welcome to Face the Nation. I'm John Dickerson. We're joined now by Donald Trump on the phone, fresh off his appearance on Saturday Night Live. Mr. Trump, I want to start with some of these stories about Ben Carson, your rival in the Republican race. You suggested these stories about his autobiography are important. Why are they important?
Well, first of all, I hope it works out well for Ben. I mean, I'm not looking to see anything bad happen to him. I've gotten to know him and like him. But, they're tough stories. I guess he wrote a book sometime prior to thinking he was going to be a politician, and we all have done that, perhaps. And pretty tough things come out. You know, when you're talking about hitting your mother over the head with a hammer, and I'm sure you never said that, and I never said that or thought that, and hitting a friend in the face with a padlock, and stabbing somebody, and and saying you have when you have pathological disease, which he said, and now the whole thing comes out about West Point, where he was, talking about scholarships at West Point, and I know a lot about West Point. West Point doesn't do the scholarship thing, so a lot of questions are being raised, and the pyramid situation is a little bit different because, frankly, if you know anything about the pyramids, they're pretty solid structures. They didn't have steel where they'd span it and they'd create a big vacuum underneath. Those are solid structures. So you're talking about storing grain in the pyramids. Well, they have very little space. They have space for small rooms where the pharaohs had their coffins and where the pharaohs were buried, essentially. So, a lot of things are going on, and I don't know. I just don't know what to think. I hope it works out fine for Ben. I just don't know what to think.
Well, working out fine for him would mean beating you, so I can't imagine you hope it works out that well for him.
No, not that fine. That's too fine. But other than that, I hope it works out fine. You're right.
But he of course has responses to all of those questions that have been brought up, and aren't they all really quite secondary though to his story, which is he grew up in poverty, became a famous neurosurgeon. This other stuff's kind of pretty much on the side, isn't it? For somebody who's also had some issues with the press, why not be on Ben Carson's side here about stories that really don't go to the heart of this job you're trying to get?
Well, I think when you say that you stabbed someone and were saved by a belt buckle, and that's pretty unlikely because a belt buckle will turn. A belt buckle is not going to stop a knife. The belt buckle itself will turn. And, when you say you hit your mother over the head with a hammer or tried to, those are pretty, and when you write in a book that you have pathological disease is not cured. And, you had dinner with Westmoreland. Now, I hear Westmoreland may not have been in the area where the dinner took place at that time, according to his schedule. So I don't know about that, and maybe it's right and maybe it's wrong, but those are pretty tough charges, and they were written by himself, the pathological stuff was written. That's very serious pathological disease. So I just don't know what to think. All I can say is I hope it works out for him. I don't know what to think about.
Let me ask you about the polls on the Republican side. You are in the pole position on the next debate, Fox News.
Right.
That means you're at number one in those polls, and you are ahead in a lot of the states. But Ben Carson is
all of the states
definitely gaining on you. I think in Iowa there might be some. He might be ahead in some polls, but clearly in the other states you are well ahead. But give us your sense, as a student of the polls that you are, about Carson's threat to your candidacy. How real is it, and what do you make of his rise in the polls and his gaining on you?
Well, I think everybody's real. I mean, you have a lot of people. They have a lot of talented people that are running. Some of the people I like Ben. But some of the people that I like very much, and I think everybody's a threat, and I've never done this before. I've built a great company. I've made a lot of money. I want to put that thinking for the people of the United States, and we're just being ripped off by everybody. We're being ripped off by every single country that we deal with. We're being ripped off in purchase of military equipment. I look at the kind of prices that we're paying. It's absolutely ridiculous. We can get better equipment for less money. I mean, so many different things. But I view everybody as a very good competitor. I mean, even the people that are much lower in the polls than myself or than Ben or anybody else. So everybody's a competitor.
I want to ask you a question about your tax plan, and we'll play a clip from Saturday Night Live last night, and then I want to ask you coming out of that.
Jimmy, how's the economy?
Amazing, sir. In the words of our new national anthem, it's huge. After your tough negotiations with China, you are killing them on trade. They're now borrowing money from us. I have no idea how you did it, sir.
Well, you know what? I don't have to get specific. With me, it's just works. You know, it's magic. It's just it's always been that way my whole life.
So you were kidding there, but when you announced your tax plan in September, you said that phase 2 would be some specifics about what you would cut in order to make the numbers add up. When are we going to see those specifics about the tremendous cuts that you said you're going to make?
Yeah, you'll be seeing them soon, and it's a very easy thing to do because you look at the fat and the waste and the fraud and the abuse that we have. It's incredible. And the other thing I'm going to be doing is bringing back jobs. I'm going to be bringing back great numbers of jobs from China, from Japan, from India, from Brazil, from so many countries that have been just absolutely stealing our jobs. And, John, it's going on to a level that you've never seen before. We now have corporate inversions where companies are moving out of the United States, and they will be moving out, and big numbers if we don't do something quickly. And my plan stops all of that, and it will stop it. And you have to be smart to stop it. You know, it used to be when people would leave New York for Florida because of taxes, or leave New Jersey for Texas or something. Now they leave the United States for Ireland and Europe and Asia, where they get better deals.
So you want to close the loopholes for tax havens?
I want to bring back trillions of dollars that's stuck in other countries that we won't let back in because we don't have intelligent people running our country.
What about other loopholes on the personal side? Mortgage interest stays in there, charitable giving?
That's right. Mortgage interest deduction would stay, absolutely.
Charitable
Carried interest, though, would not stay, and that was one of the ways that the hedge fund guys who make a lot of money pay very little tax, the carried interest deduction, and that I'm knocking out. And my hedge fund folks are not exactly happy with me, that I can tell you.
Any other big cuts you can preview for us? Because you got a lot of math to cover up there.
Well, no, you have a lot of math, but when we start making our country strong, the numbers become incredible. What happens? You know, John, when the country starts kicking in, when we have a dynamic economy again, the numbers are unbelievable what happens. And right now, you know, you unleash the genius that is America. That's our country, and you just unleash it, and that's what's going to happen under my plan, much more so than any other plan. And one thing I will say, you talk about polls, every poll said that when it comes to the economy, when it comes to finance and the economy, I'm many times higher than my next highest rival, and that's a pretty important thing, I think.
Okay, Donald Trump, we'll look forward to having you back on to talk about those specifics. Thanks so much for being with us.
Thank you very much, John.